This is my complete match video for Desert Brutality 2022 in Assault Rifle Irons Division. I shot through the match all in one day during the staff match. On this stage, the shooter begins with an RO, verified unloaded rifle, and has to climb over these upturned water carriers that form a barricade. On the other side, the shooter will load their rifle and engage 3 targets downrange at about 200 yards. I'm using my BRN 180 you've previously seen on the channel. Link in the description below. While the shooting position here is not mandated, I choose to shoot prone for stability. The shooter now has to advance to this next barricade, engage the 3 targets again, and once they are successfully engaged, crawl through underneath the barricade. My hand placement on the rifle is situationally dependent. Here I'm supporting around the magwell and magazine to get the rifle at the correct height to make the hits. Lighting conditions here are what make hitting the targets difficult. They're just at the edge of the shadow, and from different positions, it can be hard to get enough visual contrast to see the sights against the target. Fortunately, I don't really snag on anything going through the barricade. Now to this table, hit the 3 targets again. Once I've successfully hit the targets, put the rifle on safe, pointing into the berm, and transition over the table. Notice my hand placement, pulling the rifle down into the table for support. From this forward position, I have to hit the 2 outer targets, drop the magazine, then hit the center target. This makes the center target into a high-value target. I'm not allowed to make up that hit if I miss it. The point of this is that when I go to retreat, the RO knows that the rifle is unloaded completely, and the 180 does not apply. Coming back over the table is a bit faster because I have a running start. Note how I position the rifle on that side of the table to still be facing into the berm. On this side, I have to load, engage the 2 outer targets, and drop the magazine again to hit the center target. That outer right target is consistently the harder one to hit for me because of the lighting conditions. Back to the crawl through barricade. I have to crawl through first, then turn around, load, and engage the targets in the same sequence again. This time I do get a little hung up turning around as I'm going through there. This is the least stable position of the course, and I am breathing heavier at this point in the stage. I do have more misses before making the rounds connect on those outer smaller targets.
Just high.
The center target is a full-size IPSC, so it is easier to hit. Back to the start position now. I have to go over the prop first, then load and engage the 3 targets again. From this final position, there is no limitation on rounds fired.
Keep going.
That's a 200-second par time there. We later switched out to clocks that allowed us to go to the full 240-second par time. 240-second par times were the standard for the match. On this stage, I am 5th in Assault Rifle Irons. You can see that only 6 people in Assault Rifle Irons made it under par time. I'm 24th out of 174 shooters overall on this stage. From each of these barrels, the shooter has to get 1 hit on each of the 2 steel targets at about 150 yards from the start. The shooter will keep advancing barrel to barrel, making these 2 hits from each position. From this next position, the shooter has to rotate the spinner. I reload on the move, so I have a full magazine to do that with. pulling the rifle down into the barrel to control muzzle climb. I'm just going to hammer the spinner. Clear and sling the rifle. Moving forward, the shooter has pistol targets to engage, one in each corner from this first position at about 25 yards. I'm using the TSOS PX9 Duty, previously reviewed on the channel. Link in the description below. The spinner is still moving when I get to it, so I have significantly less work to do. Looks like I only make 3 hits on it actually, but it's enough to make it actually go over again.
2 statics.
At this point, the 2 statics are still in the description for this point of the stage. They were removed during the main match. I am first in assault rifle irons on this stage. I am third out of 174 shooters overall on this stage. This is the classic Casarda drill, this time with a 50-pound kettlebell. Don't worry about my ear pro. I actually have electronic earbuds in my ears playing music to help me stay motivated during the stage, but also help me keep track of the time. So get rid of the ear pro that I didn't need and we're falling off there. I do train with a 72-pound kettlebell at home, so throwing the 50-pounder is relatively easy. My Arc'teryx kneecap came apart on that last slide into position. They're somewhere between 5 to 7 years old and have a lot of use on them. You'll notice that I don't slide into position anymore on this stage because I did feel it in my knee on that last one. With good knee pads, I can do this much more aggressively, but I'm going to suffer a little bit because my knee pad failed and it's going to keep failing throughout the match. Note that I don't wait for the kettlebell to land before reaching for my rifle. As soon as I release the kettlebell, I'm reaching for it. You'll also notice that the way I position myself to acquire the kettlebell, it's really easy to pick my rifle back up because they're both right next to each other. Without my ear pro in place over my head, my hat was coming loose, so I just threw it off. Ironically, the one shot I'm going to miss is from this last position because with the lighting conditions being what they were, I had the sun coming right into my eyes.
Outstanding. 80-20. You lost your hat.
Yeah, and a knee pad again.
And a knee pad. Look at it, blown out.
I am third assault rifle irons on this stage. I am 9th out of 174 shooters overall on this stage. On this stage, there is a rifle target at about 75 yards. The shooter must engage firing unsupported. They will then throw the 32-pound kettlebell over the barrels. They must hit this pistol target at about 50 yards. I have done 0 practice with this pistol outside of 20 yards, so I start working a grid to see where I need to hold the hit. I take note of where I need to hold the hit, and I'm going to try to replicate it on the next iteration. Ultimately, the shooter has to get 8 hits with rifle and 8 hits with pistol. You can see the rifle target is in the shadow at this point of the day, so I'm trying to get a good sight picture to make a clean hit. Ultimately, what I find you need to do is contrast on the stick and then hold the sights up from there to make it connect. This is counterintuitive because you'd assume the pistol round would be dropping at 50 yards, but I find that I actually have to hold the sights at 6 o'clock to make the hit on that silhouette.
Pistol 3. Rifle 4.
When I shot through again in Armored+P division, this stage was one of the biggest differences in my times. Hitting that target at 50 yards with a dot on my pistol was absolutely 0 challenge.
Rifle 5.
In general, having a dot on my pistol on my second run through made the biggest difference in how fast I could shoot the stages. When I was using the PX9 at local matches as part of my earlier review on the channel, I did so with a hollow sun red dot on it. But after our mud test, I thought it would be interesting to use it for one of my run-throughs at Desert Brutality to see how well it performed after having been through that abuse.
Pistol 6.
I like doing Assault Rifle Irons Division to test the viability of the stages. My basic premise is if I can't make it through a stage in Assault Rifle Irons without powering out, most of our competitors won't be able to either.
7. Rifle 8.
Is it?
Pistol 8. Outstanding. I see clear pistol.
I'm fourth in assault rifle irons on this stage. I'm 34th out of 174 shooters overall on this stage. On this stage, the shooter's rifle begins in condition 3. Once they step up onto the wobbly platform, they can charge it. There are 3 clays at about 30 yards they must break to score. Once the clays are broken, they will clear and discard their rifle and move on to the pistol portions of the stage. The shooter has to pick up this 50-pound sandbag and carry it with them from stage to stage. For me, the easiest way to do so is to just swing it up over my head, rest it on my shoulders, and as I step into the shooting area here, I'll just let it roll down off my back. On this portion of the stage, the shooter has to knock down 1 plate off the Polish plate rack from each position and keep moving through those positions until they've neutralized all of the plates. So 1 left, 1 under, 1 right, then back to left. We later added a static steel target to this stage, so if extra plates fell off, the shooter still had to make hits on that static plate. The shooter now has to clear and reholster,
Sandbag.
pick up the sandbag again, and move to the next shooting area. Once in position, the shooter reloads and gets 1 hit on each of these 4 targets from each position. Note, I had to put my glasses back up on my face. They were sliding down from running around carrying the sandbag.
Hit.
I opt to go prone here rather than try to crouch down and shoot underneath the barricade because it's a little bit lower, and with more targets to engage, it's easier to justify committing to the position than it was swapping through them on the last bay.
Hit.
The tinier targets on the stage are consistently a challenge. It's even worse when it's the last one of the stage and you're wanting to rush it and get it over with.
Well done, Russ.
I am first in assault rifle irons on this stage. I'm 37th out of 174 shooters overall on this stage. On this stage, there are 5 clays at about 30 yards. The shooter has to break 1 from each of these boxes and then move on to the next box.
Hit. 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 Clear rifle.
The shooter has to clear their rifle and ground it. Then on the way to the next bay, crawl underneath the table. From this area, the shooter must get a hit on 1 plate, then move to the next box.
Hit. 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 Hit.
Now the shooter removes the magazine, moves forward, and has 1 shot to make this hostage rescue hit. Make the hit, holster up. RO knows the gun is unloaded. I re-secure the pistol with my bungee strap over top of it because I'm going to be crawling through underneath of this table again. If your pistol falls out of the holster when it's unloaded, it is not a match DQ, but it is plus 60 seconds. So it's worth a few seconds to put the retention strap on the pistol to make sure that doesn't happen. From this area, the shooter has to get 1 hit on each plate again and move to the next box, rotating through them until all the plates are hit. You can see the way the sun is peeking up over the berm there. It's lighting up my iron sights in such a way they're hard to see against the target. Shooting through this match with iron sights and again in armored with optics on my guns, the main thing I'm going to take away from this is that as an iron sight shooter, you can have all the skill in the world, but you're much more at the mercy of lighting conditions and target presentation with regards to how easy things are to hit. I am 4th in assault rifle irons on this stage. I am 43rd out of 174 shooters overall on this stage. This stage begins with the shooter pulling a rope that activates the movement of the Death Star. Once they've knocked all 5 plates off the Death Star, they're going to drop their mag and get a final hit on that circle in the corner there. There are no penalties on this stage. It's just about if you advance or not, so hitting the plate in the corner doesn't matter. It's just to give people something to shoot at so they don't just wildly fire into the berm when they're clearing. You can also rack and show empty to the RO. Now, this stage is where you can have the whole stage go wrong for you. If you miss, you have to back up to this first start box. So you got to make every shot count. For every shot I'm firing, it's a exhale, pause, prep the trigger, squeeze. I do not want to have to back up on this stage. Note how I keep the gun up as I advance forward. I'm always ready to shoot as I step into the box. From this final shooting area, it's the same thing again. If you miss, you got to back up. I got to make every shot count. I feel like by the last stage of the match, I've finally learned how to shoot with the iron sights on this thing. Imagine if I'd actually practiced before the match with the gun.
Those are the most stressful handgun shots I've ever made. Yep.
I am 2nd in assault rifle irons on this stage. I am 20th out of 174 shooters overall on this stage. In the final results, I'm 1st out of 16 shooters in Assault Rifle Irons division. While I only had 1 stage win in Assault Rifle Irons, the low points of my scores weren't that low, and overall my scores were very consistent, and I shot the match clean with no penalties. Shooting clean and consistent is the name of the game at Desert Brutality, as opposed to trying to go all out and risking penalties, as you would at other matches. In the overall results, I'm 7th out of 174 shooters. Very pleased with that, considering my lack of practice and preparation with these guns for this event. If you want to see my Armored+P division run, or you like this type of in-depth match analysis in general, please come over to my Sinistral Rifleman channel, where I post this type of content regularly. I have a large back catalog of match content from the past 15 years that will at least help you know what you're getting into when you're going to these events. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you at one of our Brutality events in the future.